Question 10. Given the graphs of f of x and f minus g of x, sketch the graph of g of x. So we look at our given information here. We're actually given the graph of f of x and f minus g of x. And we're asked to find or sketch g of x. So I'm just going to write out the equation here that we should know. And the equation is f minus g of x can also be written as f of x subtract g of x. Now, because we're asked to find g of x, let's solve this equation for g of x. And to solve this equation for g of x, we would add g of x to both sides. So we get g of x, and we would subtract, right? So we'd add g of x to both sides. And I'd add g of x over here, for example. And then I would subtract f minus g of x from both sides. So, f minus g of x. So, essentially my equation will become g of x equals f of x subtract f plus g of x. So when I do a table, I want to make sure I have all that information contained in the table. So I know I need to go f of x minus f plus g of x to get my value for g of x. And whenever we're doing these type of questions, we're always thinking y values. So I always prefer to do these questions with a table. So in my table, it doesn't really matter the order here, but in the table I'm going to put x first, and then in my table I'm going to put f of x, and I'm going to put f minus g of x, and lastly what I'm looking for is g of x. So if I look at my first value, you can see my x values. It ranges in both graphs, start at an x value of 1. So I have an x value of 1, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a common domain to both graphs. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to look for the y value. The y value in our f function is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first y value is 5. Then we reach to 2, x equals 2, it drops down to 3. And then at 3, it looks like it jumps up to 6. And at 4, it stays at 6. So let's just check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So now we're going to get the y value in f minus g of x. So the y value in f minus g of x, the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it jumps down to 2. And then it actually remains at 2 for the rest of the graph. So now, what do we got to graph? We got to graph basically the difference. If we look at our original question, or the way we wrote out that formula, g of x is f of x minus f minus g of x. Just noticing I got a little error here. This should not say plus, this should say minus right here. Whoopsie daisies. Because that's my given graph. So again, this should say minus. So I'm going f of x minus f minus g of x. So I just need to subtract these two values. So I'm going to subtract. Remember, you're subtracting the y values. 5 minus 4 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. 6 minus 2 is 4. And 6 minus 2 is 4. So when I plot this graph, of course I am going to end up plotting the x with the y. So you want to read that out correctly. So the first point is 1, 1, and the second point is 2, 1. So let me just zoom in here. So the first point is 1, 1. And then the second point is 2, 1. And then we're at 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're at 3, 4 again. So we should connect these points. And so we will connect those dots here. We go straight across, and then we're going straight up, and then straight over. And then this resulting graph is g of x. So that is it. I believe we have correctly graphed that. And you know, if you wanna check this over, right? We could look at our y values, and just to make sure we're doing this, f minus g of x is the y value here, right? So the y value of 5, subtract the y value of 1, gives me a y value of 4. Makes sense to me. The y value of 3, subtract the y value of 1 gives me a y value of 2. Right here we got a y value of 6, and we subtract from that a y value of 4, and again we get a y value of 2. And lastly, a y value of 6, subtract a y value of 4, does give us a y value of 2. So no matter how we organize this, we should get the correct result.